Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm AmandaMuse, and today I'm going to be sharing an update because it has been a summer of change. Where to even begin? I wrote down 6 things to update you on, and a lot of them spill over into the next one. First things first, if you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe, consider staying. I have been running this YouTube channel for many years. I am also a podcast host, so I recently launched a podcast called The Sandwich, which I may add, in September of this year, I was in New and Noteworthy on iTunes, so I'm very proud of that. But I will get to more on the podcast later. But yeah, if you're new, subscribe. Consider it. I will say that a lot of times when you're going through something like a big change, most people, I would say, don't really talk about it until they're through it. Whatever it is, just a hard time, you're kind of like, as you're going through it, you're processing it and you're kind of trying to figure out how all of this is going to work. But because you haven't really maybe wrapped your head around it, it's not something you talk about until later. The weird thing though about what we do here is that you're kind of seeing stuff happen as it unfolds. And so June 29th, Dean's birthday, I'm pretty sure was Dean's last day of work, which was kind of crazy. Okay, so let's get this all organized. Also, I haven't really even spoken about this in its entirety to anyone, so we'll see how this goes. Basically, when we came back from Malaysia, hi Nori Bori, you hear jingle jangle, you know who it is. 4 years ago, we came back from Malaysia and we moved in with my in-laws because we thought we were only staying in Canada for a short amount of time. At the time, Dean had interviews set up in the Middle East, in Asia, and those were the 2 places we were thinking we were going to end up: Vietnam, Dubai, and this was 2014. At the time, the world was kind of in a little bit of chaos. If you want to go back and look, feel free. But there was all of this ISIS threats and all of these kinds of things. I don't even like to say the word because this video is not political whatsoever. But it just seemed like the opportunities that were popping up overseas were not exactly aligned with some of our goals. So we decided to kind of stick it out and see what Dean could find for work in Canada. Now at the time, my YouTube channel was not really profiting. So that wasn't something I could count on. And I hadn't worked in a really long time. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do? So here we are back in Canada, not really thinking we were gonna stay, and then we started to stay. Fast forward, Dean gets a job in Ontario. So we moved from Alberta to Ontario. Crazy because my parents live in Ontario. I have lots of family here. Well, I have some family here.
Yesterday, we got some very exciting news. We know where we're going, and I'm so excited. We are moving to Ontario, Canada. We're staying in Canada, and what? I'm freaking out. Yesterday, I almost threw up. I was so excited. I can't believe it. I'm staying in Canada. This is crazy.
And it was really weird to be back. So Dean got this job, and let me be honest, the landscape was kind of sparse. There weren't a lot of these aviation jobs popping up that made sense for his career because he's not a newbie in this space. He's been flying for a very, very long time. So he took this job and it really worked out. And during that time between 2014 and now, this has become a really awesome job and opportunity. And basically, my job started to pick up steam. Without saying anything negative about Dean's previous employer, because this is not the space to do that, it wasn't the best situation. And he wasn't really feeling very good about that. But it just wasn't working out, and we talked about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm able to float us if you want to quit your job. So for the first time in many years, Dean quit his job. So he basically finished on June 29th, and then in his industry, it does take time to get new work. It's not something where you just go for one interview and you get a new job. It's a lengthy interview. There's medicals involved. It's quite a process. That said, he has now got a new job. And so mid-month, he's going to be taken off to go do some training for his new job. But between June 29th and now, he's been home, and it's been a hard adjustment because it's not just him that's been home. It's been everybody. So the kids were home. Obviously, it's summer holidays, which is awesome. However, my summer, the way I envisioned it was not kind of how it unfolded. I had plans to have Esme in summer camp, a nanny helping with Jack, and working because my stuff doesn't stop. It is a struggle for me this summer. It is a real struggle. Everybody is home. Summer camp got canceled. I feel a lot of guilt because I've been working long days and I haven't been spending much time with the family. Anyone else sympathize with this guilt feeling? It's It's a lot, and everybody is in my area, and it's like overwhelming to me. Yeah, so the summer, my goal was obviously, or how I planned it wasn't how it went. Isn't that life, right? All of a sudden, everybody is home in my tiny space because we don't live in the biggest house. We have a nice, small, older house, and I work from home. It was a little intense. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. It was a little intense. No one did anything wrong per se. It was just a lot happening, and I still had to carry on working the same amount of hours and producing the same amount of content with everybody in my space. That was a lot. As you know, I launched a podcast, and so I spent a lot of the summer working on this podcast, which I absolutely loved. Links are below in case you missed it. And it was amazing, and it was so fun to do something new and work on something new. And Dean actually did a bunch of episodes with me, which was super fun. I really enjoyed it, but it was something new, and so I had to like reduce as much, the videos on YouTube. And so there was a lot of like little incremental changes that resulted in a big change for everybody. So Dean's home. Esme was supposed to be in summer camp. She ended up hurting her ankle because she was doing gymnastics summer camp, to the point where we were icing it every day, like during gymnastics, after gymnastics. And Dean and I were like, dude, you're not training for the Olympics here. Like, this is supposed to be just like a fun summer activity, and it turned out where your ankle is literally, you're rolling your ankle every day. Like we're kind of like foreseeing some serious permanent damage on this little 6-year-old's ankle. So we pulled the plug. Now here's the thing. Tell me if it's like this in your house, but if it's just me and the kids, I can go about my business. I can be like cooking dinner. I can be working on stuff and take like an hour here and there, and the kids will be fine on their own. However, if it's Dean, they're just like waiting for him, like, hey dad, what are we gonna do? We can do anything fun? And they're just like ready to pounce on Dean. So poor Dean like did not get any time by himself. It was a struggle. So it was a struggle. It was also kind of funny at times because for the longest time, and especially like gender roles, I was like the stay-at-home person, and then I worked on the side. Well, that work was always from like 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. and it was really exhausting. And you may have noticed that this summer I didn't stay up that late all the time. And so I would be like, hey guys, I gotta work, and I would go downstairs, and then Dean would be the stay-at-home parent. And if you ask him, he will attest to how difficult being a stay-at-home parent is. Maybe it was a life lesson for him. I don't know. It was a lot of change. Are you reading between the lines? It was a lot. So job change, everyone was home for the summer. It was a little bit of chaos. We did get a chance to go away, which was awesome, but it was last minute, and that's just the way it goes. So it wasn't something that we were like looking forward to. It was kind of like, oh my God, we can go away in 3 days. Let's go. We had a great time. We went out to Grand Bend, Ontario. So fun, swimming. I loved it. If you missed that vlog, I'll link it below. And then there were some like family triggers, like my extended family. I won't go into too much because out of respect for that person, but it was just some stuff that I've dealt with my whole life. And for some reason, this summer in particular, it really affected me, my mental health. And I realized that I was starting to dip. And I thought, you know what? It's not fair to myself. It's not fair to my immediate family. It's not fair to my job. Like, it's not fair to any of those things for me to just like go inward. And so I realized and recognized what was happening, and I was like, hey, I'm the sole like income person for my family. I've got to stay healthy. And as a result, I sought out some talk therapy. I've been to 2 sessions. I have another one coming up next week. Love it. I'm really connecting with my therapist, and it's a nice opportunity to just let it all out, start anew, work through some stuff necessary. So that's been awesome. So between the big job change, it's a big stressor to have a big job change. It's also a big stress just for a person to go from being primary breadwinner to not for a little bit, even though you know that you're going to be back to work. It's still like a weird change. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Dean, but I think it was a weird summer, just in general. Now that's some of the weird stuff. Some of the great stuff is that, the podcast. First of all, thank you to each and every one of you who have listened to my podcast and given me great feedback. I've appreciated all of it, and I love it. So season 2 is right around the corner. I'm aiming for, I think it's September. Hold on, I'll tell you. September 20th, 2 weeks. I'm supposed to have an episode out. Bear with me, but I imagine I'll do that. If not, maybe a week delayed. But I'm looking to launch for the end of this month. It is such a different way to share content. It's such an opportunity to like really dive deep on a topic. I mean, we talked about marriage, relationships, we talked about sex, we talked about family, we talked about just growing up. I mean, we talked about body confidence. I had guests. It was so fun. And so for season 2, it's kind of like, you know, the evolution of a person, like where we start intimacy, relationships, motherhood, like there's a lot going on and I'm excited. So I'm just kind of ironing out that and some guests for season 2. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, the podcast got into new and noteworthy on iTunes. What? So the best way to support me on the podcast, because I had a few questions about that, is to rate and review on iTunes. Now I know not everybody is an Apple user, but if you can, like, pop over there for a minute and just give it some star ratings and leave a little review, that'd be great. And that kind of triggers iTunes to be like, hey, this podcast is doing well. That's what I do too to support the podcasts I like. A link is below to go and do that, so that'd be great. September is going to be quite busy for me for work stuff. It's a nice busy time of year, which is great. So lots of fun little campaigns coming up. I'm going to be speaking on a panel at the end of the month for podcasts, which is awesome. I'm going to be speaking at an event next month in Toronto, which is cool. So there's a conference coming up out of Toronto and I'm very excited to be attending it and also be a part of it. So this is like very exciting things. And then the last big thing is that my baby started school. Oh my God. So as I'm filming this was his first day. My eyes are still puffy because I was a hot mess. Here I was, like not really that sad, not really feeling nervous until yesterday. It like hit me like a ton of bricks. All of a sudden I realized my son eats like 3 things, hot dogs, sausages, peanut butter. Very difficult things to bring to school because he likes his hot dogs hot and he likes peanut butter, and peanut butter is like major no-go at school. So last night I'm Googling alternatives to sandwiches. Thank God for Pinterest. But I was making pancakes at like 10:30 last night. All of a sudden it was like, oh my God, he's going to school and I'm not going to be there. And I don't know, it just like hit me. And then this morning getting him ready and he was so excited. And then, oh God, help me, when he was standing in the line at school, I'm not gonna get verklempt again, but he was like playing with his little hands and then his lips got these like big lips and he was looking down and I was like, oh God. And then I went in, he's like, Mom, I'm a little bit sad, and he started to cry and then I hugged him and he just would not let go of my neck and he's like, I need a tissue. So I gave him my shirt and he wiped his eyes and he didn't really want everyone to see that he was crying. It's just a little overwhelming. There's a lot of new faces, there's a lot of people, but there is one little buddy in his class and I feel very happy that his little buddy's there. And actually that little guy's mom is like really awesome. We just made friends. That said, the entire time I've been very excited for Jack because it's a new chapter for him. And while he is going to be off learning amazing things, it's also a new chapter for me. You guys, I have been doing this, building this thing that is AmandaMuse and the sandwich and all of this in a very small amount of hours. Like sometimes I sit down and I'm like, how did I do that in those times? Like, what? So I'm so excited to see what I can do now that I have like more hours and guilt-free hours working when my kids are at school and a little bit of time for myself. Like today I went for a massage and tomorrow I'm having lunch with a friend. Like what? So there is a lot that I'm excited about, and my biggest one is I think I am going to be taking up ballroom dancing again. I am so excited. I was like cooking dinner the other day and I said to Dean, oh my God, like both kids are in school this fall and I have loved ballroom dancing, and I did it between, what was it, 2008 and 2010 or something like that. And then it's been like 10 years because we moved overseas and then having babies, and it's a bit of an expensive pastime, and so I haven't had the funds to do it. But now that the kids are in school and I'm not paying for daycare, and it's like, what? So I'm actually, after I record this video, I'm going to inquire about a dance lesson studio. There isn't one in my city, but there's one kind of close, and I'm gonna go see like how I can manage that, and if, you know, I can maybe do it like once a week. I'm so excited. and like there's like routines and recitals. I'm like a 5-year-old basically. So more to come on that, but it is the year of like growth for everybody. New job for Dean, new school year for Esme and Jack. Esme is just like, she's like old school. She's like, Ma, I got this. I'm a veteran. Grade 2, you know, she's awesome. And Jack starting school, and me kind of like rediscovering who I am outside of being a mom. And I feel like it's been this like slower kind of walk in this direction. And I think there's a lot of us watching who are in this phase of life. And I just want to tell you that it is totally okay to make time for yourself, to invest in yourself, whether it's talk therapy, whether it's a little bit of a hobby you enjoy, friendships, like it's good. It is good. More to come on this subject. I'm just excited. And it's September. It's like my new year. I feel like this is like when everything starts anew. So I'm pumped. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little update. That's it for now. And have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Bye.